Hello, everyone. Welcome, and thank you for joining us today in this new Rhino user webinar. It's been a while since the last one. I am Guillermo Varela from Magnet Europe, and I'm here today with Greg Olszewski. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing it right, probably not. Greg is a software engineer with a background in structural engineering, and after 5 years automating Tekla drawings, he has developed the free Grasshopper plugins, which connect the world of visual programming with the drawing area in Tekla. Today, he will show us why he has developed this plugin and how to use it. And remember that in the last 15 minutes of this webinar, we will have some time for Q&A, so you can ask questions in the chat, and we will check them at the end. And also, I would like to remember, or I want to mention that the webinar is being recorded and will be available on our YouTube channel, where you can find more webinars and tutorials. And also that I will send you an email when the recording is available, probably tomorrow. So that's all from my side. Thanks again, Greg, for accepting the invitation to this webinar. And please start with the presentation if you're ready. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Guillermo, for this invitation. It's a pleasure to be here to share what I was developing for 2 years, and I hope that you will find something interesting. But yeah, my name is Greg, and I am a software engineer, and today I will tell you a few words about the Tekla drawings. But to start, I will just share my screen, and now you should see that. I will just move a little things here and there. Okay, so I want to show you the free Grasshopper component and the free Grasshopper plugin, the Grasshopper-Tekla drawing link. But before that, I believe that we have to start with just explaining what is the Tekla structures. So the Tekla is the BIM software, quite big one, which is built in the purpose of the detailing phase. So this is the phase where you are not thinking about the overall geometry of the building, but you are trying to make it constructible. So you are placing all of those bolts, welds, reinforcement, wooden connections, all of those tiny pieces which makes your structure working and able to conducting the forces. So this webinar will be about extending the typical workflow inside of the Tekla with the help of the Grasshopper. That's what I want to show you. And I will be focusing on the drawings. And before diving into the deep water, we have to tell a few words about how the Tekla drawings work like, because yeah, maybe some of you know how the drawings work in the Rhino, maybe in the AutoCAD, but Tekla is a little different thing because here we are dealing with the BIM data. So there is one single source of the truth. This is the model, the 3D space. And the drawings are just the projections of those 3D space when we see our elements from different angles. So we have the plan view, elevation view, some sections. And why is it important? Because inside of the Tekla drawings, we are not drawing single lines, we are not printing single hatches. That's not the scope of the user interaction with the drawings. Those we are getting for the free. This is just the feature of the Tekla, that it has quite a good engine for getting those hidden line algorithm applied to our 3D elements. So that's not the task with what we have as the Tekla users, but we have a different task. Because every time when you deal with projections, when you deal with the flattened image of the 3D space, then you're losing some data. You're losing this third dimension. And you have somehow annotate a dimension line, some level marks. You have to do some things which will make those 2D drawings workable for the construction site or for the workshops. So that's the case for the drawings. And in Tekla, there are different type of drawings, but I will focus on 3 of them. Because on the left side, you see the assembly drawing. And this is the drawing which is needed to know how to assemble your part. Mainly some metal one, the steel one, aluminum, maybe wood one. So here we want to display, okay, so what smaller parts, what standard parts has to be used to assemble the whole element? Should we apply some welds, maybe some bolts, things like that. But on the right side, we see the reinforced concrete drawing. This is the cast in place drawing, or maybe precast even. So here we are not dealing with the bolts, with the welds, but with the reinforcement. And the reinforcement is a little different kind of a 3D object because for the optimization purpose, they are handled a little differently, but in the Tekla. So we have two different type of the workshop drawings, and also we have the GA, so general arrangement drawings. Those are the sections, the elevations, the plan views. They are needed at the construction site to know how to assemble your whole building. So here we are not thinking about the single element, but about the interactions between those different elements. So we want to present the dimensions, for example, needed for the foundation, or maybe some dimensions to the nearest grid to know where that element should be placed. And as you saw, those three different type of the drawings, they have one thing in the common. So they all show the 3D area with some very specific viewing angle, but the rest is completely different. So that's why in Tekla you have a lot of different possibilities to customize your drawings. So you can provide some settings for the drawings, for the views, for the dimensions, the size of the drawing, how to hatch things. There are a lot of different things. And with every Tekla release, you are getting some more features, some new powers to customize how your drawings should look like. But there is one big problem, because those drawings are usually represent your very specific company scope of the project. And it's very hard from the software development point of view to create one workflow which will work for all of that. So very often, you will face the situation when the default behavior of the Tekla will not be enough, that you will be forced to manually place those elements, to position those, to orchestrate. And this is the word which I always like to just say, that the main purpose for the Grasshopper-Tekla drawing link is to orchestrate the drawing operations. So everything what the drawing link can do, you can always also do as a user. That's not the case. You are not getting some super superpowers, but you can streamline those operations according to your needs. And later with the next drawing, with the next project, just to execute it without, once more again, do the same stuff by hand. This is the whole thing for the drawing link. So we will try to orchestrate different drawing operations during that webinar, but that will come soon. Of course, you can do the same kind of the orchestration, the same kind of the interaction with the Tekla without the manual intervention with the API. And Tekla is very good in terms of the API. So we have the API for the model part, we have the API for the drawing part, but as always with the APIs, they need some knowledge in terms of the software development. So if you don't know .NET languages, mainly C#, then it will be quite hard to utilize the power of those APIs. And here we have something special, something what is called Grasshopper, which you perfectly knows. And in that area, before the drawing link, there was developed the Grasshopper-Tekla live link. This is coming from the Sebastian Lichol from Tribble, and it's a great way to operate on the model level. So with those features coming from the live link, you can create very complex geometries inside of the Tekla, which without the power of that live link would be impossible to do, or very, very, very time consuming. Or you can streamline, you can automate some things which are tailored for your company. And LiveLink utilizes the API, the Tekla API. So it is kind of a wrapper. But the LiveLink has one drawback because it doesn't cover the drawing part. And that's why some time ago, probably 2 years ago, I started development of the drawing link. So I took the same principles as with the live link, but of course with some changes due to the different nature of the drawings. And as today, I have developed 151 components, which tries to wrap the main functionality of the Trimble of the Tekla Open API to have it possible to operate with those Tekla drawing entities from the Grasshopper level with the power of the visual programming. And I strongly believe that this is the easiest way how you can automate the drawings. Of course, with every Tekla release, those inbuilt features for the drawings are getting better and better. The tool is progressing. It gets updates, some nice features like this year, AI feature for finding the best source for the cloning. All of that is happening. But very often, those new features which are tailored for the general audience, they will not help you. They will not help in your specific use case. And the drawing link, you have to think about it like the orchestrator, like a stuff which enables you to reflect your workflow, your typical day with the Grasshopper components. So that's it. And this drawing link is the open source project. This is free one. Everyone can download it. Everyone can make a fork. Everyone can raise sample requests or raise some issues if something is not working as you would like to have, or just give some ideas, because this is how this development is going. That from time to time, I'm getting new requests from the users who tried what is currently available, and they see that, okay, I would like also to do this and this and this. Is it possible? And then, of course, after some time, we are trying to deliver them the new features. And that's the nature of the development, things which are open source. So this is about the GitHub. You can always go there. But if you will want to think, okay, so who can benefit, who can use that drawing link? And in my opinion, there are two main groups of people who can benefit in a quite quick time. So the first one are people who are doing Tekla drawings currently. So they know, okay, so I have the drawing settings, I have the view settings, those elements are coming from the model. They know how the stuff currently works on the Tekla side. So this is the first group, because then they know what is the input, they know what is the output, and the only thing is to figure out how to do this magic between the input and output. And then we have the second group. So people who knows how the Grasshopper works. So they know, okay, with the Grasshopper, for example, with the LiveLink, I can do a lot of magic on the model side. But I know how to do the magic. I just need to find out those input and outputs. So you get the point. That's perfectly in your company. You should have both people, and then after they will meet and use the drawing link, I believe that they will be able to do a lot of great things. But during the following minutes, I will show you different samples. But if you will be interested to find out more, you can always visit this grasshopper-in-tekla.com. This is the website conducted by Chris. And Chris is a lecturer. He is teaching how to use the Grasshopper in Tekla, but not only in Tekla. And he's a quite good experienced guy in that area. So he's providing some instructions how to squeeze the Grasshopper together with Tekla to get the most of that. But okay, now I will go to some samples. I will, from time to time, I will just look into my watch to see what is going there. And yeah, now you see my Tekla model on the right side, and here is the script with 10 different use cases. So let's see how far we will go with that. And in my opinion, the lowest hanging fruit in terms of the Grasshopper drawing link is the positioning of the views. Because this is something what Tekla doesn't offer very well. There are no possibilities to customize that. And very often you will face with a situation like that you get some drawings, those are the Tekla drawing views, but they should be arranged in a completely different way. So that 3D view should be placed somewhere here. Those sections should be in an opposite direction. You don't allow to this overlapping, and you get the point that there is no inbuilt Tekla in the vanilla version, which allows for this positioning. But you have to do it in every drawing to have some quite standard lookup of that. So that script will just get all of those views. As you can see, I am wrapping the Tekla API. So I am asking, hey, drawing, what views are there? And then I am asking, okay, so what those views, they have what types, what names, what is the coordination system, all of those things which are needed. And then I am able to, okay, so I wanted to focus only on that 3D view. That is its internal name. So let's go with that 3D view and let's point it in some place. So now I will just try to disable that component just to make it work like that. So now I am just positioning that view by the anchor. So by the upper right, I am providing it in that corner. As you can see, this is this point. Of course, I can set up it differently. So I can use the lower left, for example, like that. But of course, for that case, it doesn't make sense. So by doing that, by finding some way how you would like to position your views, by some absolute movement like this one, or by some relative like this one, you will be able to achieve the exactly perfect positioning every time without the manual movement here and there. And as I said, usually you have to do it for every drawing. So it is quite a nightmare work. So based on the querying the drawing content, by some filtering, by just finding out how big those views are, you can position them on the drawing view however you would like. So that is, in my opinion, the lowest hanging fruit, because this is something what everyone are doing in their work. But with the drawing link, it can be done quite straightforward. Of course, at the first, maybe when you see all of those components, it is quite a big one, but this is always coming with the sequence that you have to somehow filter the drawing content to know, okay, so what I want to move, what I want to change, what I want to modify, and then apply some action. So here the action is to move view to the point, and it's up to your use case what coordinates you would like to use. Should it be the center of the view, or should it be somehow reflected the drawing size? Because of course it can always be different. So that's the first use case which I wanted to provide you. And then let's go to the next one. So I will close the drawing, and what is the next one? So the next one is also quite simple stuff, which is something like the, I would say, very, very repetitive stuff. I will open that cast unit drawing, and that will be about the ordering of the dimensions. So very often in Tekla, you will face this kind of a situation when those dimensions overlap with each other. This is the matter of the cloning, so getting the source drawing and then trying to apply with the automatic Tekla behavior it to the next one. And from version to version, it gets a little better, but still very often you will see the situation like that when you will have to just drag and drop those dimensions a little to get it positioned better without the overlapping. But with the drawing link, with even smaller number of components, you are able to streamline that operation. So now I will just get some interaction from the user, because I want to give them some possibility to show which view should be sanitized, but of course it can be done for every. And now, as you can see, those dimensions, they were moved with some set value. So there is the component order dimension lines, and there is the slider. So if I will move them a little, then I will get a little bigger offset. In the real world case scenario, that offset, of course, should be somehow connected to the scale of the drawing. It can be done, but this is just a fixed value. And how that script is working, because at the very beginning, we had just all of those dimension lines. So we just disable the preview. Okay, so how does it work? So I'm starting with just getting everything what is visible in that object. And for that, I am getting a lot of different parts. So I'm getting some connections, some ladder lines, some marks, some part. All of those things are visible in that view. But we are not interested, for example, in the reinforcement group. That's not the case. We just want to order the dimensions. So what we are doing, we are just getting the dimension lines like that. And that component is coming from the drawing link. This is just something which in C# is related to the dictionaries. This is just for searching by key. So we are providing the values and the same number of the keys which correspond with each value. So this is the key value pair. And then by the provided value to the search, we are getting the result. So for that, we are getting 9 dimension lines. And then with the drawing link, we are able to find out, okay, so where are they located? What dimension points do they attach? So there are different use cases which can be done with that component, but here I'm just getting the location. And what is done next? We need to somehow split those dimensions, to group them, because usually in the assembly drawings or in the cast unit drawings, you will have dimensions on 4 sides of your element. So we need to somehow group those into the horizontal above, below, vertical on the left, and on the right. And here, with the inbuilt vanilla components coming in the Grasshopper, it can be done with some mathematical expressions. So then when we will be able to, for example, find out what lines are on the left, what are on the right in terms of some boundary points, then we will be able to group them into 4 categories and then just ask, hey, please make them in one order. So this is the second use case, which I think is something what everyone are doing, but with that kind of a script, it can be quite easily streamlined. So this is the first one. I will just disable the preview and let's go next. So next one is not about the modification of the existing dimension lines. This is about creating something new dimension lines. And that topic, it needs some discussion, because I will try to open the GA drawing, because it's very often that the GA drawing are the hardest one, because the inbuilt Tekla tools for the dimensioning, they are not operating very well here, because here you have a lot of different contexts. So you can make dimension for the nearest grid, or maybe those bolts should be dimensioned to the nearest object, but which one? The farther one or the concrete one? You know, every type of the building, of the construction, every type of the office, every type of the people on the site, they will have different needs. And that's why it's very hard for the Tekla developers to provide one tool to rule them all. That's not the case. I don't believe that it will be even possible. So that's why, in my opinion, you have to customize your workflow using, for example, the Grasshopper. So here, what that script will do, it will place the dimension lines on that particular view. So I'm just selecting that. And I believe that those dimensions will be for those columns, because yeah, we need to show how big they are. Of course, you can also add here the dimensions for the nearest grid. Why not? But now I just want to show you one very specific way of working with the drawing link. Because in the drawing link, usually you start from the drawing level. So you have something visible in the drawing. So you have to ask, okay, so what is visible? And try to filter that you don't want to think about the grids now, but just about the parts. So this is done with that component. But here you are still working on the drawing level. So you now can modify, for example, the properties of those elements, but that's not the case. We don't want to change the colors of those drawing objects. We want to do something based on their 3D representation. So we have to go back from the drawing to the model, and then the fusion, the combination of the drawing link and the live link happens. So what I am doing here, I am making the conversion from the drawing part to the model object part. So here I am just moving, okay, I know what I want to dimension on the drawing level, but the drawing entities, they don't know about the geometry. They are just the placeholders for the visual appearance. So I need to somehow go back to the model, and then a lot of things will be possible. For example, like this grouping of the objects, because now I am getting some model objects, a lot of them, as you see, and I want to group them by name. And in Tekla, as it is the BIM software, you can specify the name, the properties, the materials, the profiles, some user-defined attributes. A lot of things can be attached to those geometries. That's not only about the 3D representation. There's a lot of information, the eye in the BIM. So here I'm making the grouping around the name, and okay, nice. Yeah, but how to use it? We can use it because we know that we are interested only in the column. And that combination, those three components, they can work only if your model part is done in a consistent way. That it will always have what do you as a human think about the column, that it will have the name the column. And that's always the case with any automation, will it be the C# or Grasshopper, that you need to have the stable input. And this is something where the way of creating the model content with the live link shines, because then you are forced to do those insertions, apply those profiles, those names in a consistent way. And then when you have the consistent model, you are able to do the consistent drawings, and that's the whole magic. But of course, it doesn't came from the power of the drawing or live link, but rather from your user behavior, that you have to work consistently. So okay, now I am not dealing with 2000 elements, but I'm just dealing with 92 columns. But it seems that in that model, it's still too big bucket, that I want to somehow shrink it to make it a little smaller. And I can do it because I know that I am only interested in the class 30. That's how they were modeled. So then I'm asking, okay, so now please group the same objects, but by the class. And I see that that class is there. So now I am limiting it to only 10 elements. And this is the place when I have done the filtering, the pre-processing of the input, because on that drawing, on that view, I see a lot of different elements, some walls, some columns, a lot of things is there. but I want to dimension very specific thing, only the column on the class 13. So I have to somehow filter all of those elements according to my needs. And then convert to brep happens, and that component is coming from the livelink, and that's the great component because here you are able to get the 3D representation of those elements in the Rhino world. And when you have it in the Rhino world, then you can apply transformation, get the shadows, get the projections, do all of that geometry magic which is possible inside of the Rhino. And this is exactly why I love this workflow, because you are getting a lot for free. So for example, here I am just making the transformation for the view coordination system. Then I am asking, okay, I don't want to work with the 3D objects. I want to work with just their, I will change it, with their projections. So now I'm just getting exactly the same what I see in the Tekla, but that those polygons are not coming from the Tekla because that's the limitation of the API. And then I am asking, okay, so what edges do I see from the left and from the bottom? Or maybe what edges I see from the left, bottom, and from the top, or maybe from the right. Or as you can see, you can set up those however you would like. So this is the way how you can view your geometry from a specific angle. And then at the end, you are just applying the dimension line. And after applying the dimension line, you can also make this link, but yeah, you don't need it. So you can always do it like that without this linkage. Of course, those dimensions, they don't look the best. So probably in your environment, you have already the setup for them. For example, I will just now try to get this one. Yeah, they will look a little different. So every time when you insert something on the drawing space from the drawing link, you can query, you can use the settings which are already in your environment. So now I will just provide that I don't want to insert the generic dimension line, but I want to insert the dimension line which will follow that particular settings. And yeah, I was not aware that it will also add that button tag, but that's the way how you can apply your settings into those drawing objects. So that is about placing the dimensions. And as I said, this is the combination of, at first, filtering of what is visible in the drawing to your particular need. And to make it up and running, you need to have your model in a consistent way. This is the first requirement. Then use the livelink component to transfer the Tekla geometry into the Rhino world. And then with the drawing link, you can do some projections, find what edges are visible, and place the dimension lines. So this is the second workflow. But of course, for someone, it could be quite tedious to do all of that. And for them, there is just a lazy way that you can create the drawing just like you would do as a user. So you can just query this create assembly drawing, cast unit drawing, or GA drawing, and that will just create the drawing, and later it will open that. So now I have just asked the Tekla to create the drawing. And of course, you can do exactly the same as the user with the right click, create fabrication drawing, something that is the common path. But as I said before, the drawing link is here to orchestrate, to help you to just reduce the mundane work which you are doing day to day. So that is the way how you can create the whole drawing from the scratch with just one component when you have some specific settings. That's, of course, the requirement. But also what you can do next, you can have more control over the view creation. So maybe you have some specific type of the drawings, some very complex one, or just something which is against the inbuilt procedures inside of the Tekla, and you need to somehow configure it according to your needs. So that will be exactly this workflow, because here I will create not the whole drawing. I have some drawing which is empty, but I will create those views. So I will just enable that. And as you can see, I have created those views, the top view, the front view, and the bottom view. So I have created them, and later I have applied some movement for them. So that maybe will be helpful for you, because maybe you don't want to create them automatically with the Tekla inbuilt settings, but you want to rather have some control over, okay, now I will create section, now I will create detail. But still, here I'm not touching the dimensions. So as you can see, here is just some positioning, which I think that it should be done a little differently than just getting those corners, it should reflect with the origin. So something which I have to a little improve in that particular script. But yeah, that's the idea that you have to always think, okay, so what are the painfuls? What is wrong with the current Tekla workflow? Because if you will just say, okay, I want to make that drawing together with sections, with everything from scratch, from the Grasshopper, because I believe that that will be better, then maybe it will be better. But if that will be your first task in the Grasshopper world, then it could take quite a lot of time in terms just of figuring the boundary conditions, because this is something what you always have to have in your mind. What type of the complexity of the elements will you deal with? So if you will say that you want to create the drawings for the steel columns, then will those steel columns will always look the same? Of course, the geometry will be a little different, but the main concepts, like the main end plates, like the bolts between, like some secondary parts to grab to other parts, will be the same. So that's always why I strongly suggest to start with just positioning, just to get some familiar, okay, do you get the main principles? Do you think that it is worth? And later try with more complex one, because yeah, if you will start with the complex, then it could be quite hard because you will not get some foundations. So that is about the creation of the view. And then, okay, this is about the creation of the section, because this is something which also you can do. So now I will just create the section based on that area. So that section was created from scratch, and let's see how it was done. So I had some existing drawing, and it is just done for the purpose of the demonstration. It could be the next part of that script when I created all those views, but yeah, I just want to make it a little simpler. So I'm starting with just querying the source of that section, and it was that drawing. So I wanted to create the section based on that particular view. So I need a few things. So I need to somehow know, okay, so how big that section should be. So what are the limitations in a 3D space? So how this magenta line should be like. So how we can do it? We can at any point ask about the source of the drawing, because every cast unit or assembly drawing, they are coming from some model object. So we can always grab them and then with the live link get their main part. And then we are getting the main part, but of course in the global coordination system. So that's our duty to orient, to transform it to the view coordination system, because this is how Tekla drawing works. They don't work on the global coordination system level, but on the local view one. So you have to always look into the display coordination system. And then it's a little different. So now this is the projection which I see. And then I am using the normal Grasshopper components, like I will try to surround it with the box. I will get the domain for the X just to see what is start, what is end. I want to have that section at the start. I will do the same, but with the bounding box to get all of those elements. But now I will look into the Z coordination, and then I will be slowly able to, oh, it should be Y. That's why that was too big. Yeah, now you see that was the wrong domain. So then I will get this section, and this is coming from the drawing thing. But before the act of placing the detail view or the section view, you need to figure out, okay, so where it should start, where it should land, what settings should we use. This is what is done before the section view. And then the typical stuff, the positioning. So as you can see, the positioning is done almost in every place. Okay, I will just preview that. Okay, and now the mark placement. Let's go. I see, okay, I still have some time, but those cases are much more interesting. So let's go with that view. This is the foundation view, and the use case is like that we are providing some part marks. They were coming directly from the Tekla, but we received some requirement from the construction site that they want also to have those marks for that kind of the foundation. And then we can, of course, place that manually, or we can do it with the link. So now those blue ones were created, and they were created in the center of gravity, because this is how I structured the script. Maybe not the best way, so let's try to do it differently. So now I will try to do it not in the center of gravity, but I will use some midpoint from the top. I will just make it to, you will see. Now you see that they are placed in a different location. So if you know how the placement of those nodes should be done, then with the drawing link, you are able to do that. With the Tekla, you can just, with the vanilla Tekla, you can just say, okay, I want to have them somewhere. But then the question is how they will be positioned. Of course, the Tekla is using some algorithm to find the best spot, but very often it is what is the best for the Tekla is not the best for you, because you have some idea, you have some requirements how those things have to be positioned. So with that, you are able to exactly place them in that kind of like the point placement or with some ladder line. So this is something what maybe you could find useful. But I also have one extra script which works on that. Nope, this is not that. This is about the plugin insertion. Let's wait with that a little. In exactly the same drawing, the two, not sure. No, we are now at the 6. So let's go to the second GA drawing. This is this one. This is one layer above. So here we are dealing with the columns. And I like that workflow, because what I want to do here, those precast columns, they have something like named top inform. So this is the surface of the column, which at the factory level, they put some extra sign, some extra mark to highlight how that column should be positioned. Because as you can guess, there are 4 different options how it can be positioned. And the wrong placement can result in quite a lot of costs. So there is this habit, this routine to place some extra symbols on those drawings, but it has to be done. It has to be done by the user. So with the drawing link, you can just say, okay, I want to have it done here, and as you can see, it is created here. It's a little too small symbol, so let's try to increase it. And now, okay, now it's much bigger. And that particular script, it utilizes quite a lot of different concepts. So you have to be familiar with the Tekla, how it works internally, how this top inform is placed, but it can be done. So you can find out how some very specific UDA is mapped into different vectors and how does it reflect with the local coordination system. And when you will mix the powers of the live link and the drawing link, you will be able to place those symbols like now. So every column now would get it done. Of course, in that sample model, they are all oriented in the same way, but you can guess that in the real world, some industrial building, it could be done differently, and you will deal with 100 of columns, maybe, yeah, dozens. So this is something what you can also do with the drawing link. And as we can see, what you can insert with the drawing link, here are different kind of the dimensions. So we can place the angle dimensions, curve one, but mainly you will deal with the straight ones. And also you can place some annotations like the nodes, like the detail marks, like the level marks. Those are, I believe, quite important because with the vanilla Tekla, you are not able to place them automatically. But with the drawing link, when you will filter objects which need those level marks and you will specify, do you want to have them on the top or on the bottom, then it will be done. Then we can also place some primitives. You can always place some lines, arcs, circles, but yeah, usually we are not working like that inside of the Tekla. But what I want to show you now is insertion of the plugin. And the drawing plugins are not very often used because they have one problem, mainly related to the way how they are inserted. So I will just disable the preview and let's go now to this sample because I have just skipped it. So that will be the custom unit drawing. Let's open it, and it was this wall. Let's go. And here there is the reinforcement view. Okay, so here is the reinforcement view. And there are different kind of plugins. So I want to place rebar group dimensioning. So this is the plugin which I want to use. But on the drawing side, you have to at first select something, hit the plugin, and provide the locations that I want to have them somewhere here. Wait a while, and I will have them. You can then move it. Then the next one, I'm selecting, I'm clicking, and doing that. So you can guess that it can be quite a tedious work. But with the drawing link, you can automate those plugin insertions because we know which rebars need that kind of a dimensioning. So it can be done, it can be filtered by just getting their shape. So I know that the internal shape has to be equal to 4. And for that particular view, it will work. So I will just go with that. Of course, maybe in your case, you have a different boundary conditions, so we will try to place it differently. And now all of those 4 sides for different rebars were placed. And I can imagine some cases where you have the very, very big slab cast in situ where you have a lot of different groups and you have to do it. And it will be a nightmare to do it by hand. So I believe that then with the German thing, you can truly get the result with placement of those plugins. Of course, there are also different type of the plugins, but here let's just see that the plugin component, it requires to provide some view. You have to say, okay, what kind of a plugin should be placed and what are the inputs. And this is the most tricky part because every plugin, it has a little different type of the input. So if you will face any type of the problems when you will not know how it has to be placed, then just raise the issue on the GitHub. Maybe I have tried it in the past and I will be able to help. That's also the case for the open source project, that if you will face any kind of a problem, then just you need to be quite loud and say that you are dealing with that. That, you know, if you will be silent and just complaining on your site, then it won't be fixed because I don't know about your struggles. So that's about the plugin insertion. And the last thing with what I have prepared is something maybe not related to the drawings, but this is about the export functionality. This is something what is quite new in terms of the drawing link, because as you can imagine, the export is not heavily connected to the drawings. Of course, when we want to export to the DWG or to the PDF, the drawings, it is definitely the drawing operation, but the export to the 3D DWG, so getting the whole model content and getting it to the 3D DWG or to the IFC, or to the report, there are definitely not the drawing operations, but I believe that due to the nature of the Grasshopper, you are able to do something quite valuable and important, what was not possible with the vanilla Tekla, because here, when you are dealing with the export to the IFC, you have 2 different possibilities. You can export every object in the model or just the selected ones. But very often you will deal with some requirements on your project that you have to provide, for example, the IFC just for a small subset, for some area, for some level, or like in that case, I want to have it done by the material type. So I want to get 2 different IFCs based on those selections. This is, I think, not the whole content of the model. This is just some random cross, but let's see how it will work. So I am getting only the assemblies. The assembly is a set of different Tekla objects. And then I am, as once more again, grouping all of those objects by the material type. And then I'm getting 2 codes. So 2 keys. I have the concrete and I have the steel, and I want to create 2 different IFCs. So now let's just create it. And the first is the concrete, as I see, and the second is, no, the opposite way. The first one was the steel, and the second one is the concrete. And okay, so now it was exported, and we can see where is it or not, what I have done. Why I can't enable. Let's try like that. Okay, so now those are the pubs, and now I want to log into the Triple Connect, and oh, it went quite okay. So this is the IFC for the concrete. As I said, I have not selected the whole model, and this is the IFC for the steel. And of course, as a user, you would be able, you are able to do it with just manually selecting, changing the selection, doing the first export, doing the second export. Of course, it can be done. But the nature of exporting, of working with different parties, it requires that you have to do it frequently, once per week, or maybe even more frequent. So if you have something what has to be done with some occurrence, and you know what is the input, you know what is the output, then it's all about finding your magic tool. And in my opinion, the Grasshopper is that kind of a magic tool, which is quite easy to understand in comparison to learning how to deal with the C# Tekla Open API. And I really, really like all of those components which are just delivered with the Grasshopper, with the vanilla Grasshopper. And of course, we are not talking about all of those extra super plugins which are also available there to enrich your experience. So that's that's my statement for 2025. I hope that I will not change my mind. And until now, even AI is not changing my mind in terms of usability of the Grasshopper and how it can benefit your workflow. So that's all what I have prepared. I'm just checking the time. I have still 1 minute, so not so bad.
No, no problem, Greg. Thank you so much. It has been a great demo. It's very nice to see it, not only a presentation, but to see it directly in Grasshopper and see how you manage the projects. It looks quite simple. I think that probably if the project is a bit more complex, it will also be more complex, but I think it's super nice. And there are a few questions. If you want to ask more in the chat, now is the right moment. But for as Chandra was asking if the example you showed with Grasshopper is available or not.
I think that I can share it through the GitHub. That's the main source where the information can be found. So it will be uploaded there.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, I will ask you about the link later to send it with the recording of the webinar by email. So yes, and Chris is asking if users are asking for more components, and if you are going to develop the connection further.
Yes, there is one quite big request in terms of the dimension tags. So now you can just use the pre-saved settings in the Tekla, but of course it demands that you have to pre-save them. You have to be prepared. And the question is, okay, so maybe we could just create them on the fly. So this is something which is possible with the API, but there are a lot of different possibilities how you can construct those tags. So I want to do it, but the question is how to do it in a clever way, because it is very easy to just add 20 new components just to fulfill that requirement, because everything is sitting in different class and they are quite loosely connected with each other. So I don't want to make work both for me and for the users in terms of developing and consuming those components. But this is something which definitely is requested by the users, and I believe that it will improve and give new powers to them.
Thank you so much. Alexis is asking, for now, the version 2024 is not available on the Tekla warehouse. It will be available soon. I'm not sure
That
what
is
happened.
that is quite a big topic, because what is currently available on the Tekla warehouse is some clone. As I said, this repository is open for everyone. So someone just took it some time ago and posted it on the warehouse. But this is not coming from me. I will do the official release on the Tekla warehouse at the beginning of June. So stay tuned. It will be very soon available. But now, if you want to get always fresh and up-to-date version, you just go to the GitHub. There is always the place where I manage the code. And as I said, this is free for everyone. So yeah, there were even people who wanted to sell it to some others. That's the nature of the open source. So if you want to get the fresh one, just go to the GitHub.
Yeah, thank you so much. Um, yeah, I'm not sure if you can maybe paste the link to the GitHub in the chat, because they're asking,
Yeah, sure.
Gaura is asking where he can find today's script. It's not available yet, but if you are going to upload it, you can paste it there. But yeah, I'm not sure. Okay, I think Chandra posted, but I think it's this one, right? Yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh, you
Yeah,
have.
yeah, yeah.
Oh, sorry. Yeah,
Yeah,
but
I
in.
copied from Chandra's comment that she pasted there. Oh, okay. Yeah, Gaurav is saying very nice examples. Yeah, I'm checking if I missed a question from before, but I don't think so. It was about the YouTube channel where I'm going to upload it, but yeah, it's answered. And what are the biggest challenges while automating drawings from Chris again?
Okay, so in my opinion, there are two of them. So the first one is the scope of the automation. That if you will say that you want to automate every type of the drawing, then it will be quite hard because every type of the drawing, they have some nuances which makes them unique. And that's why the inbuilt tools inside of the Tekla or in other tools, Beam software tools, they don't fulfill the user requirements because they are the general one. So that's the place where your custom solutions built on top of the Grasshopper will shine because they will reflect your challenges, your type of the construction industry which you are facing. And this is the hardest part, I would say, the hardest thing to just limit the scope, to not think too big. So this is the first one. And the second thing is that here you are not at the very early stage, you are not creating new stuff. Because before you will create those dimension lines, level marks, all of that stuff, you need to get some knowledge what is there. Because in Tekla, the drawings are just the reflection of the 3D model space. So before placing some new objects, you need to somehow gather the knowledge. You have to somehow query the model content. And as always, when you are trying to query to find out, you need to at first ask some questions. Okay, so what I'm looking for? What are the rules on the model side? What will be the beacon for me to provide? Like here, I wanted to place the dimensions for the columns, but only those with the class 13. So those little business logic details are crucial for the outcome.
Okay, thank you. And Alexis is asking if you're going to update the plugin with the new Tekla versions when they're released.
Yes, I want to do this, and of course that's the right question because as with every open source project, we are hearing here and there that those maintainers, those authors are at some time just rejecting that because this is just a free work for the community. And here, what is good that since the maybe not the latest release, but one of the previous one, we have agreed with the Trimble developer Sebastian Lindholm that even if I will stamp development at some point, that his way how the drawing link is loaded into the Grasshopper will still work with the new versions. So that is some kind of quite soft pillow in terms if I will at some point say that no, sorry, the work for the free is not the best. But for today, I'm just saying that I will do this because I strongly believe that for many it is the enabler. It is something which which can help. And I also received this kind of a feedback, and it always makes me quite happy that my work is worth that. For many people, this drawing automation is just the entry gate to more big Grasshopper workflows. Because when you will go to your boss and say that, hey, please look, with the Grasshopper, with this drawing link, we can we can get some hours on our projects. And this is something which is quite easy to obtain, to get that benefit. And by that, you will be able to get those licenses, to get the training, and you will just start your path toward visual programming. And that is the case of some people who already started that. And I strongly believe that this is the right way to do.
Yeah, continuing with this topic, Laura is asking if you have any advice for people who want to start learning how to develop at this level in Grasshopper and Tekla, and how did you get started? What was your journey been like?
As always, when you are trying to learn something, yeah, people are different, but for me, the question was about me. I am the doer, so I am learning by doing. So you have to find some real practical use case in your company, some bottleneck, something what people are complaining that, oh, that takes too much time, we don't like it. And then you will get some very specific task. And it will be I would say, the source of the learning material, which you should build on top of that. Because I don't believe in learning just by watching some, tutorials, and you will spend just a time and without trying to really use that knowledge in the practical day-to-day work, it will be waste. But of course, it's for me. Maybe for someone else, it will work.
Yeah. And Chandra is asking if you have a forum where people can ask questions and find helpful solutions. I'm not sure if GitHub could help with that.
Yeah. On the GitHub, there are issues, but there is also the different community, the Discord one. And for that, you have to go to this learn Grasshopper-Tekla.com with what I shown at the very beginning. So there is the link for the training with what will provide you the guidance across all of those components, and also you will get the access to the Discord server where all of those issues are raised, and I am trying to answer to help people how they can benefit from that.
Yeah, thank you. I was checking the link. What is the one? I think I missed one. And David is asking, why do you think the Tekla API doesn't provide an effective way to work with detailed object level settings and filters?
Maybe I was not so clear. Oh, the Tekla API. Well, wait, I will just read it once more. Okay. Okay, because there are different levels of this question. So, okay, at first, if I will just drop the word API, so if I will just think about the Tekla, then the vanilla Tekla shines in terms of specifying with the object level settings and with the filters how those views should look like. So what kind of lines should be used, what colors, what should be visible or not. But that's just about the visual appearance. That's not about the annotations, the dimensionless. So that is the first thing. And then let's go to the API part, because the Tekla API, it has the problem on the view level in terms both for the detail object level settings and the filters, that they are not loaded when you just create the view. This is the limitation which in the statement in Tekla 2025 is solved, but in my opinion, it's not working still the best. So that's why in the drawing thing, just to bypass that limitation, when you create the view and you are using filters or detailed object level settings, you can change the mode of the component with the right click, and then you can apply the macro. So it will mimic your user interaction. So it will open the view settings, load those, and click modify. So this is some kind of a workaround of this Tekla API limitation. And I'm not sure that this is the answer for the correct question, but let's hope that it is.
Yeah, thank you. I was checking. I think the link is this one, but I'm not sure, from Learn Grasshopper. Yeah. But yeah, I think yeah, I answering the last question from Gaurav. In Rhino 8, there are Grasshopper components for drawings, for annotations, for almost everything you can do in Rhino is now in Grasshopper 8, in Grasshopper for Rhino 8. So that shouldn't be a problem. And I think that's all. I think I haven't missed any question. So thank you so much again for the presentation. About the Tekla components, they are not in Grasshopper by itself, but with this plugin you can use them. A few more questions. There are many software, many plugins that you can use as Risalino questions that you can use depending on the plugins. There are a lot of compatibilities with other software, so you can check them. If you go to Food for Rhino, you can check most of them. So if you have any questions, specific questions, you can ask them by email. You can ask them also in the YouTube recording when it's available. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining this webinar, and thanks again, Greg, for accepting the invitation and for the presentation. It has been great, and I hope this project can continue to be that helpful for the community. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you once more again for your time. And yeah, if you will have anything, then just go to the GitHub. And yeah, Guillermo, thank you.
Thank you so much. Have a nice day. Bye bye.